All right, our recording is cooking here.
Okie dokie.
Hopefully we'll have a good, stable connection here.
You still working on your Starlink?
Yeah, I'm just checking to make sure I'm connected. Yep, I'm connected to Starlink. But
Well, it's a
Teresa,
lean group here today.
I bet Teresa knows where I'm at now.
Oh my gosh. All right, I have a testimonial. I finally got onto John's boat when we were in LA at another meeting. Craig's. Yes, some of you know. Nobody online here was there. So you missed a great time. And wow. You know, I've been seeing all those pictures online and whatnot and all the rave reviews. We didn't get a chance to go out, although that probably wouldn't have been my preference anyway, but beautiful boat and with bunches of beautiful people and in a beautiful location. The man cannot complain. It's wonderful. And thank you so very much for the invitation and your hospitality. It was beautiful.
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, the Craig's event his events are always interesting. But he seems to have his new sidekick, Mr.
Yes.
Paul. So he's a very energetic character. But,
He is.
Yeah, seems like a good guy. That was actually the first time I had met him in person. So, not
for me as well. No, that's not true. I don't know.
Yeah, it was funny. Somebody came up to me at the conference and said, he's like a mini you, and I started laughing. I go, oh no, he likes to work way too hard. That was classic. And Roger, I apologize. I saw Michelle every day at the thing, and I kept meaning to bring your coat to her, and it just got away from me every day. So you're going to have to come back and get it.
We'll come back to the boat.
There you go.
But we need lobsters. She's never eaten lobster in her life.
Really?
She had it one time, overcooked mush, and wouldn't eat it. So,
well, that's no good. Well, we've been out there dropping our nets, pulling them up. So it's pretty good stuff. I'm actually thinking about taking a couple of the nets up here to our break wall right here at the dock and see. I mean, they got to be there. I mean, lobsters are around rocks, so that would be pretty cool if I could pull them right out of here, not even have to leave the dock.
Do you really want to eat lobster that have been sitting in that soup with all the boat engines and that sort of stuff, with that water that you got in the harbor there?
Oh yeah, we have a solution for that. We put them in our bait tank for 2 days and feed them pasta and hot dogs, and it cleans them out 100%.
Yeah, that cleans me out too.
Wow. The things you learn on these calls. How precious.
Oh yeah, good stuff, huh? I know you guys are going to take that and make money with it.
Maybe.
So John, what's changed since that foggy night we went out?
Oh, and
trying to get lobsters
in the harbor. Well, it's much earlier in the season, and the water is a lot warmer now. And I don't know if that's driving the seals off, but there doesn't seem to be near as much seals in the harbor either. And I know in the harbor, when you drop your traps in here, you leave them down for very long and the seals get in them and take all your lobster.
Oh, wow.
And we actually had that problem at Catalina not last week, the week before. I keep getting last week mixed up because I was at Craig's thing all week. But the week before we were at Catalina, and a couple of the traps that we pulled up had the dog tooth bite marks in the lobster. So the seals were trying to get them. So Those guys, they freaking eat anything. They'll probably eat the cage if you leave it down there long enough. Pretty crazy stuff. But anyway, maybe we should talk about some marketing stuff here.
Oh,
I got
yeah,
a question. I got a question for you, John, if you want to take one to start.
Okay, sure. Lay it on me.
I just was on a presentation that I'd not heard this before, that and everything I view is viewed through the fact that when you're doing things the Dominator way, that the SEO and all that stuff, all the Google changes and things are not that big a deal. However, this one sounds like it could affect even the way that we do SEO, in that apparently recently Google did a change to the Google business profiles, and now they're called Google business sites. I mean, they're always updating the names, it seems, but apparently now they shrank that radius that the Google business maps from about 25 miles down to about 5.
Okay.
And that's really apparently hammering like 30 to 40% drop in leads and that sort of thing because of that. And well, you constrict your radius from 25 to 5 miles, it's going to do some damage.
Sure.
And they were saying that they've found, they're calling it, and I don't know if you've heard of this, they're calling it SEO stacking. And basically what they're doing is, and my red flag kind of went up with this, but they said what they basically do, and they did a local example, which was really kind of good for me because I really know the area. And they were talking about, okay, the example of a Google business in Lakewood here in Denver, Colorado, in the Lakewood area. And he says, but there's also areas like Aurora and Broomfield and a whole bunch, there's a half a dozen other areas. And if their guy is over here in Lakewood, but also is a service business, so he services those other areas, how do you now pick up all those leads that you lost when Google sucked the radius in so dramatically? And what they're basically doing is essentially creating their own Google Map business profiles in the various cities, and kind of like setting up the pay-per-lead websites where they then, in each one of those areas for the client that's in Lakewood, they set up the client so that the leads coming into those other 5 cities that they set up, and they sell them on a cost per lead basis to the guy that has his business in Lakewood, where he's got his Google business profile set up, but they set up these other 5 Google business profiles, and they're their sites. They build the sites and they do a pay-per-click for that business. And the big thing that they were holding back, of course, is how they're actually able to validate the Google, how they're able to pass Google validation of site locations for a business. And they're saying, well, that's part of the big secret, which they're charging like $3,000 a year for or whatever. And they're saying, but we'll at least not leave you totally hanging. It has to do with mobile. And it's like, okay, all that to me sounds like a great idea if it works, but the problem is you're dealing with Google. And I have yet to, although I've not really gone deep into it, I've looked at, okay, what if I wanted to set up a Google business for my own business, but I just didn't want to use my address, which is, I live rurally. I live 8,500 feet up in the mountains. I don't want to have, I got a business location here in Denver, so I rented a UPS mailbox, which qualifies. But I don't think that renting the equivalent Google or UPS mailboxes or something like that in each one of those other cities, they're getting $300 to $400 a year just for those mailboxes now, even at the basic level. So to me, that sounds like a really rolling the dice situation on trying to set up Google business profiles in other cities and getting them verified. Do you have any thoughts on that, or I'll shut up now and let you talk about what you think about that?
Well, that's been going on for a long time. It totally makes sense though that Google would shrink the radius from 25 or 30 miles down to 5 because of growth. More people are coming into this. When they first started, they were given the large areas because they didn't have that many people doing it. So they needed to cover space. But now as more people pile into it, they've got to start shrinking those areas just by the way of the numbers. They don't want, 50 people all showing up, for the same search. Remember, Google is about specificity. So they're trying to get you the closest thing right to you. So that totally makes sense of why they would do that. And it goes to the whole Google giveth and Google taketh away. It's a lot of people got a free ride from being early adopters. They got rewarded for getting in early. They're not getting punished now. They're just getting realistic. That's all there is to it. But ever since the very beginning of GMB, it's been a challenge, just like SEO. I mean, it's a war. You want to win, right? They don't want you to win. So there has been guys that have been selling programs and packages and all kinds of tools and stuff to get you multiple listings in GMB. And that's basically what you're talking about. You're getting multiple listings. I've never really played in that game. I don't really service too many small local businesses like that. Most of the people that I service are big chains or manufacturers, stuff like that. But I know a lot of people do. It's a very big business serving those small, mom and pop retailers. So, but like anything else, I don't care whether you're doing SEO or pay-per-click or Facebook ads, YouTube ads. It doesn't matter what you're doing. It's costing you money. A lot of people think SEO is free. SEO is anything but free because it takes your time. I don't know about you, but my time is way more valuable than dollars. I can get more dollars, but I can't get more time. So, if you spend all this time trying to do SEO to try and get free traffic, you're kidding yourself. You got to figure out what that's costing you. And it may wind up being cheaper in the short term to pay for traffic. Anybody that thinks SEO is a fast thing, you got to think again. It's not like the good old days where you could throw some black stuff up, trick the search engines, get listed, drive a bunch of traffic, make a bunch of sales, and then be figuring on the next trick before the last one got wiped out. Those days are gone. It's just like the days of setting up a GMB and having them send you people from 30 miles. Those days are gone. It's an evolution. This whole thing is evolving. The sword is getting sharper. So you've got to dance faster to stay out of its way before you get cut. That's basically the moral to the story here. You've got to be better. Everything about your marketing has to be better because more people are getting savvy to it. More people are learning it. More people are building funnels. More every day, millions of websites go up. What does that do to your competition for SEO? Every day, more and more small businesses are learning, hey, I need to claim my GMB listing or whatever they're calling it for the flavor of the day. I need to claim this and I need to compete. They all want to jump in. They see free traffic and they all want to jump in that tank. So I really recommend highly that for SEO, and you'll get a free ride on SEO if you do everything right. And if you do everything right, you will get conversion on your paid traffic. So now what you're doing is you're building a double-edged sword for yourself. No matter which way it swings, you're going to be cutting. And that's what you want to do because it's all about conversion. It doesn't matter if you've got one person on your site or 10 or 10,000. If you can't engage them, if you can't grab their attention, create demand and desire, eliminate objections, and make them an offer, you're not going to make any money. You know, if you're not able to get them on a mailing list, you're not able to continue that process.
Hello.
You might grab their attention, but then you might lose them.
Okay, go ahead.
And if you, sorry about that. If you don't get them into your funnel, you're dead in the water. There's a lot of ways to do that. A lot of people complain about that.
If you're not at the main medical,
And they have an objection, you know, about that whole thing. Basically, that I don't want to put an opt-in because people won't opt in and I'll lose them. Maybe that's true. One thing that tells me is your opt-in isn't that valuable. If you have a really valuable opt-in, they will opt in for it. If they really want it and they can see the value of it. Remember, an opt-in is a sale. If you're asking someone to do something, that's a call to action. If they take it, they're taking it based on value. What are they going to get out of it? Think about it as a balance beam. You know, on one side, you've got what you're going to get, and on the other side, it's what you're going to have to give up to get it. In a sale, that's money. It's how much does it cost? What am I going to get? Is the value there? If the value's there, they'll say yes. With an opt-in, they're giving up their information. What that means is they're giving up the ability to hear from you in the future, which a lot of people are tainted over that right now because there's so many people like, you give Russell Brunson your email and you're screwed. Unless you change your email address, you're cooked. Same thing with any of these marketers. You know, they're going to hammer you multiple times a day until you know, it's ugly. So people are looking at that of, oh shit, I don't want to give out my email. I've had a really bad experience with that. So instantly there's an objection. You have to overcome that objection. And again, that puts a lot of weight on the value of them and their information. Their information now is much more valuable than it was before. So you have to stack all the value on the other side to tip the scale and make them an offer they can't refuse. It's the same thing as money. It's a transaction. They're giving you their email and you're giving them something of value. So you have to be better. As time goes on, you have to get better and better and better, or you're going to lose by attrition. There's no doubt about it. Whatever your numbers are today, if everything remains the same, they're going to get worse. That's just, there's no way around that.
Hey, John,
Yeah, go ahead, Randy.
is there any way to maybe as you're trying to grab their attention, is there any way to let them know that you're not going to do what Russell Brunson does? I mean, how do you that, especially, you know, we all know that. So how do you defend against that? That's
full transparency, basically. When you're creating demand and desire, you're telling somebody how something works. So if you address that up front in your presentation, before you go for the kill, before you ask them for their information, you can just tell them, hey, you know, I'm different than most of these marketing guys. When I give you something, I'm giving it to you because I think you need it, and then it's up to you to follow up. I may touch base with you a few times over the next couple months, and if you don't want any more, just hit the unsubscribe. But I'm not going to hammer you 3 times a day over the head. I'm not that kind of person. And now all of a sudden you've put them at ease. And they're like, oh, okay. You might have eliminated the objection just by stating the ground rules. You know, the more the more they know about you, if you resonate with them, and you're in line, you're in alignment with their thinking and their wants and their needs and their desires, you will resonate with them. You'll form a bond. And that will overcome that particular objection in most cases. They still might be a little sketchy depending on how many mailing lists they got onto and how hard it is to get off them. I can assure you that some of these marketers, what will happen when you click their unsubscribe button, yeah, they unsubscribe you from their list, but guess what? They auto subscribe you to about 10 others that they make affiliate commissions for just sending traffic. So basically, if you unsubscribe from the other ones, you're sending them traffic and those guys are making money just to get you to unsubscribe. It's a dirty field. So, and they don't play nice. They're totally, strictly in it to make a buck, and you are their victim. Jim, did you have your hand up?
Yeah, I just wanted to make a quick comment that might help Richard out or anybody else that's doing local SEO. I like the idea of doing multiple local directory listings. So people can get free listing on Yelp, even if you're not a Yelp fan, which I'm not. But you just like type in your client's business and location. So Flower Shop, Sacramento, and then scroll down for the first 3 pages and look for directory listings. And there's usually industry specific directory listings. So it can bounce competition off, but it can also get you more leads, and you can have multiple listings on the first page of Google depending on the competition. That might alleviate some of the effect of Google My Business radius being diminished.
I wasn't quite following you there, Jim. Could you kind of go over that again more slowly?
Sure. Yeah, I didn't want to take a lot of time, but so if you have your business or your client's business, there's hundreds of free directory listings that you can claim your listing, modify it, like John said, add a compelling description, a call to action. And the way to find out what are the top listed directory listings that you can fill out and claim for your business is to do a local search for whatever keywords people would be using to find that business. Does that make sense?
And when you do that local search, you put the local area, the keyword, and then also add directory to it.
Yeah, perfect.
That way you'll come up with the local directories for that industry. And
are those directory listings worthwhile anymore, given that they don't really bring traffic? And if you're creating backlinks and using the directories, they're of marginal use anymore. At least that was my current understanding of it.
Yeah, think about it as link building. It's any directory listing is a link building opportunity. And if you're using the local directories that are generic, that everybody uses, yes, the competition has diminished the value of that. But what Jim is talking about is he's talking about specific industry directories that are not part of a global thing. Like, you know, when you buy a directory submission, they send you into 100 or 200 different, you know, directory listings. Everybody else does the same thing. But if you find like a local directory that just services your industry and no one else is putting themselves in there and you do, then you're way ahead of the game. You just scored the 25-mile radius before it gets eliminated down to 5. And I've reviewed a couple of sites here in the last couple of weeks. I think one of them was Jim's. Was it the pest guys that we looked at? And we looked specifically at the links of their competitors. And they had really good local directory listings in directories that we never heard of, but they were specific to that industry. And here Jim's having trouble ranking, for a few particular keywords. And we look at what we're up against. We're like, oh, look at what these guys are doing. So I do think that those niche directory listings are definitely worthwhile. Anything that you can get that other people are not getting, is going to put you a step ahead. With SEO, there's a hell of a lot of steps to get to the top of the mountain. The more you can take that your competitors don't, the more advantage you have. You know, when people that are unsophisticated ask me how SEO works, I have them picture an abacus. You know, the thing that's got the rods and the beads, and, you know, you slide the beads over and it's basically like a calculator. I say, think about Google as an abacus, and some of the beads are larger. Some of them have more weight. So when you're pushing beads over, if you're pushing 1,000 beads that are little tiny ones, they're not really offsetting those big ones that your competitors might be using. So look for the big beads. Look for the stuff where you can do a little bit of work and get a maximum amount of value out of it for SEO. So I would take one specific directory listing that no one else is in my industry over 100 generic ones that everyone else is in. So think about it that way. And if you go outside of the local directories, because that's the easy stuff. That stuff is it's there free for the taking. Any directory listing, you sign up, you list your site, it's free, you're done. If you go outside that realm and you get into more difficult link building, there's a bunch of stuff where you can buy links on people's private blog networks and all that. Again, that stuff is all overused. Everybody's using it. It's commercially available. You want the stuff that's not. You want the stuff like, look for link building opportunities. We call it outreach link building, where you create a really, really good piece of content that somebody in your industry that's not a direct competitor with you, and direct competitor is not going to do this for you, but somebody that's in the industry that's not a direct competitor will do this for you, no problem. And you create a really good piece of content for them, and you put your links in it, and you say, hey, I'll give you this content to post on your site. It's valuable content and your users will get benefit from it. And there's no cost to you. I just want to get my content out there and help others. That's called outreach link building. And you just have to kind of put your thinking cap on and say, who has my customers that doesn't directly compete with me? Like a realtor, somebody that sells real estate, who's the perfect link source? A mortgage broker, possibly? You know, because somebody that's going to buy a house is going to need a mortgage. They might need title insurance. Those are perfect people for you to give content to link back to you. It puts you as authority. Who do you think they're going to want to go to buy their house? Right? When traffic, I guarantee you this, when Google sees traffic come from those sources coming to you and staying and sticking and interacting, they're going to say, wow, I should send more people to that site because they like it. That's what they're in line with. That's what they're trying to do. They're trying to find the gems. They're trying to find the needle in the haystack. So help them. Don't hide from them. Don't throw yourself in a haystack. You know, if you throw your needle in the haystack, and that analogy is basically using 100 that everyone else is using, they're never going to find it. But you put your needle out where there's no haystack and it's sitting directly on the table and they can see it, now they're going to find you. So get your freaking needle out of the haystack, would you? That's the moral to my story. You got to be unique. You got to be different. If you're doing the same stuff everyone else is doing, you are in bloody water. There are sharks in that water, and that's not where you want to swim. You know, find the blue lagoon, swim in clear blue water. It's a little safer. And you never know, you might find a mermaid. So,
well, my question was directed, John, specifically at if anybody had any thoughts on how you actually get Google to verify an address when in fact you really don't have a physical address there. If there's another way around that Google won't penalize you for, where you can set up a few other local Google business profiles for one of your clients to help them expand that 5-mile radius back out to where it was.
So let me sum your question up in a very simple sentence. Is Google stupid? No, they're not. They know what a real address is. In fact, if you get they know what a PO box looks like. If you've noticed, they physically drive to every location and take a photograph of it, and they put that on your business profile. You think they don't know you're a PO box? If you got 5 PO boxes, do you think they're not going to notice?
Well, that was my concern, because they don't just go to your location. They literally drive every street on the planet with that 3D camera. That's how you can see the porch of any house on the planet. That's how realtors do drive-bys anymore. They don't drive by, they just go on Google Maps.
Yeah, exactly. So I know you've got some really good marketers trying to sell you shit, but you're thinking the right way. You've got to poke holes in their balloon, and anything that they've got. A lot of people will find loopholes, and they will sell you a loophole for a couple $1,000s, and that loophole is going to be good for as long as it works. And if it's obvious that it's going to get shot down, it's going to be short-lived. So is it worth the money to use something that is not going to work for long? That's the question. And no doubt they probably have an excellent presentation. They're probably really good at selling that shit. But when you sit back and you really look at the reality, you're a sharp guy. You've been around the block. You should be able to see through the smoke screen. But
that's kind of what I thought. But I was wondering if you had the additional thoughts. As soon as they start looking for Google loopholes, what you're looking for is a finger to stick a hole to stick your finger in, that you don't know what's inside that hole, right? If it's Google, it's going to get bit.
Yeah. If you were going to get multiple addresses, what I would do, instead of going to a PO box, what I'd do is I'd go to a business executive suite place where they actually sell office space, and they will probably sell you a mailbox in there. They'll give you like an address -A1, and that doesn't really go to an office. That's just a mailbox in there. But when Google comes by and looks, they see, oh yeah, that's professional office building. They rent an office space in there. It doesn't look like you're renting a mailbox out of a post office back alley. They're looking for legitimacy. So, and a lot of people use those type of office spaces legitimately, even if it's just temporary office space. I used to have one. I rented in Fashion Island because I wanted a Fashion Island address to attract a few big customers that we were particularly hunting. So we rented executive suites in Fashion Island, and they were beautiful. We were in there for probably 2 or 3 years, and it was awesome. It was an incredible experience. You had doormen that would walk your clients into your office. You had beautiful conference spaces. It was an incredible experience. And when you look at it, you might think it's expensive, but it's really not when you compare it to renting a building and paying all the utilities and the insurance and all of that stuff. It's a fairly economical way to go if you really break it down realistically.
I remember when you were there. You had Kathy on board and a couple other things going on at that time. And I've considered doing that. But the problem is those executive office suites are not everywhere in every city. They are because they are legitimate. They're actually in real business areas and that sort of thing. There's only maybe 2 or 3 even in the whole Denver area, because they are professional buildings and they're hard to set up. There's not one in every city.
No, I get that. But I guarantee you they're in the big cities which ones do you want to target? You want the big cities, right? You don't want to really focus on little Podungsville when you can use the same amount of, you can apply the same amount of pressure and go after Los Angeles. And it's a much bigger pot. So density, how many people per square mile? Out in rural areas, you might have 1 per square mile. In Los Angeles, you might have, thousands. So, and if you're shooting a shotgun and you got 1 target in a square mile, you're probably not going to hit it, even with a shotgun. So it all comes, a lot of stuff, whether it's marketing or business or just people in general, a lot of times comes down to common sense, and you really, I know common sense, I unfortunately don't think is all that common anymore. A lot of people, you would think they would figure something out intuitively, but they don't. And you see that outside the entrepreneur space much more, way more. But for us, we have to use that tool to our advantage. It's a tool very few people have. Most of us here do have it. And it's also a skill that can be honed. It's basically your brain. If you don't use it, you lose it, right? It's like marketing. I was not good at marketing when I started, but the more I did, the better I got. In this ratio of training people and helping people in a group scenario, it's like me. The difference between me doing it on my own and me doing it for everyone else is like me standing there sharpening my sword with an old stone like this versus walking up to a grinding wheel with it and going, one pass and I'm sharper than shit, right? So use that and hone that skill, hone your skills in business. Don't just sit complacent. Don't go from one guru to the next thinking that they're going to install this shit in your brain. They're not. You're going to have to work at it. Find somebody that you resonate with, learn from them, but start doing it. You're not going to advance unless you start doing it. Unless you just, lay back and say, I got too much money. I got more money than I know what to do with. Let me just pay somebody to do this. The problem with that is if you run out of money, now what? You didn't learn anything. Like I've told everybody for many, many times, for many years, marketing, I believe, is probably the most valuable skill set you're ever going to possess. So you should spend some time to learn. It will follow you for everything, anything and everything that you do in your entire life. Even dealing with your kids. I mean, seriously, it's leadership. It's how do you lead the horse to the water and get them to drink? That's real leadership. And it's the same thing. You can lead people to your product, but now you have to get them to buy it. I guarantee you, if you start learning and sharpening that sword, it's going to do you good for the rest of your life. It's a very worthwhile thing to do. How many of you go to the gym and stay in shape and exercise? You can't tell me that's fun. But you get benefit from it. It makes you feel good. It makes you perform better. It gives you a better life, right? It's worth it. I'm saying something crazy. Working out is
John and Richard, can I speak to the corporate identity offerings from these? I used to house in one of those executive suites, and because it was a big company that had executive suites all over the country, actually all over the world, when I traveled, I could meet clients in their executive suites for a couple of hours. You can rent an office from them. If you just take their corporate identity package, and you can pick wherever you want to be located. And when you get snail mail, they will happily package up your snail mail on a weekly, monthly basis, or whatever you want, and ship it to you in the mountains wherever you are. So it's a great service, and it's certainly not as expensive as having a 1,200 square feet office someplace on your own.
Wow, that's awesome. I didn't know that.
Yeah, and then they've got the people, you can also have your phone answered there with, and they'll just transmit messages to you, or even forward a telephone call as if you were in just the next office over or something, and they were your secretary. So it's a really nice service. It takes some looking, to find a place where you really are comfortable and have the image that you want, but it's worth it. It's worth it.
Yeah, they even have some of them even have a secretary sitting at a desk in the lobby.
Oh yeah.
And they'll act like an answering service and all that stuff, and then you have an office you rent for an hour, and they walk in the lobby, they get greeted and all that stuff. It's a real, they're a great deal. I've looked into them before and even used them from time to time. They're very helpful to have around, no doubt about it.
Yeah. The other thing about those places, which thank you definitely, Teresa, for that, because I had no idea they would do that. That's like a yacht club. If you're part of a yacht club and you go to a different harbor, they'll put you up in a slip. That's pretty cool. But the other thing, even if you're not part of their membership, they will rent you by the hour their conference rooms. So I've done this a couple of times where I put on an event, and I got to tell you, it was so much cheaper than going to a hotel and trying to use hotel services. I could get for like $75 an hour, I could rent a beautiful space with a big conference table, AV equipment all plugged in. I just walk in, plug in my laptop, give my presentation, and go home. Really, really cool stuff. So if you want to do like local events, this might be something that would be good for you to advertise to local communities, like how to get new customers. I think if you ask any of these local businesses what they want, what they need, what their problem is, what their hurdles are, it's going to come into getting customers. So you could go around to these little local cities and put these things on, like in the evening after work, offer them beer and sandwiches or whatever to come in and hear your spiel for an hour, and tell them how you can help them get new customers. Because that's the thing, I always talk about, you got to figure out what they want. Don't try and sell them shit they don't want. Don't tell them, come in and learn about SEO. It's not going to fly. Tell them to come in and learn how to get new customers. Tell them how to come in and learn how to get people to refer them customers. That's what I would do if I was going to show them SEO. I'd say, come in and learn how I can get you the biggest referral source on the planet to send you customers. That's much more appealing than come in and learn about SEO, right? You've got to package this stuff. If you want them to buy the package, it better look pretty. And when I say that, it doesn't have to be beautiful graphics. It doesn't have to be pretty in the sense of looks. It has to be pretty in the sense of feel. How's it going to make them feel? What's it going to do for them? How bad do they want it? If they're struggling and they can't make ends meet and they're thinking, God, do I go back to a day job? That hurts me just to say it. If that's what's going through their head, and you present them with a promise of getting new customers easily and quickly, that's gonna grab their attention. That's a promise. What makes up a big idea? What's the front end? The promise. If you get that right, you'll grab their attention. Next, their bullshit factor is going to go through the roof, because they've heard that before. So now you better have a unique mechanism, how you're going to deliver that result. That's the second piece of a big idea. If you get the promise and the unique mechanism, you've got 90% of the battle whooped, because you're talking about what they want and you're eliminating the objection for they don't believe it, right? That's two of the biggest key components, is grabbing their attention and knocking out the bullshit factor. That's what the unique mechanism does. It's the thing that gets them the result. You know, like in the diet pill, it's the Garcinia cambogia. It's not the diet pill. They've heard that before and they think it's bullshit. But when they hear, oh, this has Garcinia cambogia in it, I've never heard of that before. Maybe that's the thing that I really need, right? It's the unique mechanism. It's the thing that delivers the result. You know, and then if you can package those two in a unique, compelling way that's intellectually interesting, now you just threw gasoline on the fire, right? But if you get the first two done, I wouldn't worry too much about the third. If you know, again, this is marketing skills. As you get better at this, you'll be able to come up with those factors more quickly and more easily. Right now, it's like a foreign language to you, more than likely. You're like, yeah, I hear that, but I don't understand it. But the more you do, the more you get immersed in this language, you'll start to understand it and it will start to become easier. And your skills will get better and you'll get more effectiveness out of it. So, God damn, with that pitch, if I can't sell you on learning this stuff, I don't know, I got to pack it in. I've been trying real hard for a long time.
But we're hearing the laziness part. Not so much the apply my stuff. It's, well, you know, we can just be lazy.
Well, here's
be poor and lazy.
Here's the thing. You can't be lazy unless you're really good. Right?
Amen to that. All right. That's insight of the day.
If you want to get really good, you're going to have to do some work, right? I didn't I probably did come out of the womb lazy. But here's the thing. I spend 90% of my time engineering a world around me that I can be lazy in. So I'm going to do things better than the next guy I don't have to work for. And again, that's the skill set. I work really hard up here, not with my back. I work with my head, not with my back. And I learned this real early on from a family friend that we used to call Uncle Milty. And he's still around. The guy is probably close to 70, but he looks like he's about 110 because he's worked with his back his whole life. He's a cement contractor. And when I was about 15 or so, he lost an employee and he needed somebody on a job. And he called my dad to see if I was available. And my dad volunteered me.
Oops.
Yeah. So here Uncle Milty shows up about 5:30 in the morning, which I don't think I'd seen that very often unless it was a fishing rod in hand. But anyway, I get in his truck and we go to work, and oh shit, I've never worked that hard in my life, prior or after that. And then he needed me the next day. So he says, yeah, I'll be here at 5:30, pick you up tomorrow. And on the second day on the ride home, he saw how beat I was. After 2 days, I was just ruined. And he's given me this lecture that I need to start thinking with my head. He says, your head's going to last a lot longer than your back is. He says, take it from me. I know I did this the wrong way. So the next morning, he comes to show up to pick me up. And I was out there, but I said, yeah, I'm not going today. And he's like, the hell do you mean you're not going? I said, I took your advice. I'm going to use my head. He goes, I didn't mean right now, you little rat bastard. He was Oh, he was just beside himself. But I took his advice, took it to heart. It didn't take me long to learn that lesson. 2 days. And that was the end of that show. I'm like, yeah, construction, no thank you. So anyway, I thought that was kind of cool. Some of you might have heard that before, but don't tell that one too often. Not proud of having to work with my back. All right, what else do we have here? Otherwise, I've got some announcements. Anything else we want to cover? All right, so some announcements. First announcement for Tim. I have completed Terry Harden's website for her. So you know what that means.
Cool.
That means I get a check soon, right?
Present on the way. All
Good.
right, that's announced.
Good. Can I hire you to do my lawyers since I promised him a website?
Sure.
So, yeah, it's just some of the people don't know. If you haven't watched some of my podcasts, as to what happened with me, as to why I've been very silent this year. Was I was arrested on a felony charge earlier this year because my neighbor picked a fight with me.
That's
And
not
I
no
just
fun.
got it thrown out. So now my lawyers and my lawyer, the first thing I did was went to the website. I'm like, dude, your website looks horrible.
Well, do a little horse trading, did you?
A little bit. So I mean, but yeah, he said after we got it done, he says, now I'll take you up on that website revamp. So I think I might talk with your people.
Okay.
I might pay your people to do it for me.
Sounds like a winner.
Yeah. So,
Sounds definitely like a winner. But okay, so other announcements. I don't know how many of you were involved in Be Connected, but when I was pushing Be Connected, the biggest thing that I saw, the most value that I saw out of Be Connected was the Zoom deal. And that's what I always pushed. I said, hey, if you need Zoom, if you want to lock in Zoom for, whatever it was, $12.99 for life for their enterprise version, you get a Be Connected account, and then they have that special deal for you. That's what I always pushed. That was the biggest value that I saw. I didn't see a ton of value beyond that, but that alone made it worthwhile. So I promoted it. They have lost that deal. They don't have that deal anymore, but guess who got it? I did. So now anyone that's a Dominator, I can get you the enterprise level of Zoom for $12.99 a month. So
Question, John.
they're putting the page up for it right now.
So what do we have to do? What do we have to do to be
Question.
called Dominator?
Hold on a sec. Linda, go ahead.
So I don't know if anybody else is experiencing this, but I get dropped out of Zoom probably 15 minutes into a Zoom appointment, and the quality of service I would rate in the negative. It's really been very, very poor quality. The transcriptions that are coming are crap. And I wondered if they had, if Be Connected had lost the arrangement because they're promoting something completely different now, claiming that it's far better than, it's stronger than dirt and far better than Zoom. So,
well, they're claiming that because they lost the contract.
That makes total sense now. But what does that do from the legacy clients that are already in? I've already paid a year ahead. So how does that affect me? And do you take in the legacy clients?
Well, if you're a legacy with them, it's actually the company behind it is called Working Live. So if you're a legacy, you're actually paying them directly. So you have no worries. You can keep what you've got. There's no effect to you, because of Be Connected being dropped. So there's no issue with that because I've got the same thing through Be Connected, and there's no reason for me to change it. It's really through working live. So if you've already got it, there's really no change. If you don't have it, you'll be able to get it through me without going through a Be Connected membership. Basically, that's really the big change, the big announcement. I should have my page up probably by next week if anybody is interested in that.
Yeah, I'm not putting them down or anything, but I trust your word more than theirs.
Who's
Just saying, John, you. I trust when you say you're getting a deal, I'll go behind you. I'm not saying I don't trust them people. I know a lot of them, but I'm like, man, I'll take John's deal over theirs any day.
Definitely.
Just
You know he's the real deal.
And full disclosure, I get a whole $1 out of each one per month.
Oh, wow, you're going to get rich now. Yeah.
And I'm not doing it for the money. I want to get people the deal.
Yeah.
That's with me. If they didn't give me the $1, it wouldn't matter. I'd still do it because it's a huge benefit to our group.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Like if you want Zoom webinar, it's $40 a month for that add-on. You have to have a Zoom account first. So you got like $60 a month. And that's not the enterprise level. I'm talking about like the full version, 500 seat webinar, transcriptions, the whole enchilada for $12.99 a month.
So when are you buying Be Connected, John? I'm just curious when you're going to acquire them.
Oh, I have no interest whatsoever.
Because you know it's for sale. Everything that lady creates is for sale.
Yeah, no, I'm not a buyer in that. Roger, go ahead.
Hey, John, I just want to comment on that. Michelle and I have a paid Zoom account at the low paid level, right?
Huh?
And so it's about, I don't know, $15 a month. And we haven't switched over because I've noticed that there's blaming trends in our community. So like something I've never heard of, suddenly everybody is talking about and embracing and saying, oh, are you on and have you done this, right? And Be Connected was one of those. And I didn't fully understand why you would start at 0 on a new platform. And I didn't understand the difference between the pure benefit versus the affiliate, became a little bit Amway sounding to me. And so yeah, Michelle and I haven't signed up for the Zoom solely because we just waited to see how much Be Connected was sustained, the enthusiasm, and then went away. It's kind of like a lot of I don't know, there's been some other fiery trends where everybody's suddenly into this and then whoosh, nothing. Well,
in the beginning, when I was promoting it for the Zoom thing, I started working with them and I offered to help. And they wanted to assign me as being their CTO and, give me a position. I'm like, look, I'm not looking for a job. If that's what you're looking for, forget it. I'm happy to help. I'm happy to guide you guys. I know what you need to do. And I'm happy to help you with it. Mm-hmm. But you need to get minions to do the work. I'm not going to do the work for you. I'll tell you what you need to do, but that's where I draw the line. And they kept wanting me to do stuff. And I kept telling them, no, that's not what I'm here for. So they decided they didn't really want me in that capacity, which, it was a pipe dream for them to even think that was going to happen. And I was very transparent with what I was willing to do and what I wasn't. But anyway, so that, and all the stuff that I told them to do, they didn't do any of it. All the stuff I've laid down for them. Here, you need to do this, this, this. They kept changing the rules, changing the offers. And I'm like, this is like a pinball machine. And I'm like, for one, getting people to pay to be an affiliate, I believe is somewhat illegal. I don't think you can actually do that.
Don't you do that, John?
No. Not at all. I do not make people pay to be an affiliate to make affiliate commissions.
Oh, it's the
I have a reseller club where people pay to be part of a reseller club that basically they're paying for my assistance and guidance on running their business. And then they also are able to purchase wholesale from me at a wholesale level. But that's not an affiliate program. You know, anybody, it's free for my affiliate program, as it should be. You know, any affiliate program, it's like I pay you to sell my shit, not the other way around.
Well, John, I just want to say I'm not trying to bash on Be Connected. It might be great, but it seemed complex. There was a lot of dimensions to it, and I wasn't sure everybody was really
and
knew what they were benefiting from.
It's a cool idea. It's a cool idea, but they have complicated it, you know, like you said, and they continue to complicate it. And it's kind of a cluster really behind the scenes.
They didn't come to you for the investment deal to invest and become part owner, did they?
Oh, they hit me up for that one too. I'm like, oh no.
Yeah, they wait a minute. They were trying to sell their shares on it at the value it's going to be. Like investors buy at the value now to get the value it's going to be. Not, yeah.
Yeah, it was like a $10 million valuation or something when they proposed it to me, and I'm like, you think this thing's worth $10 million in its current state? Like, that's not an investment for me.
Okay, so I have another thing, a request real quick, John, if I may.
Yeah.
YouTube is coming out with handles. I don't know, you probably all received your email already saying that they're coming. And so we want to finally get some subscribers. We actually have 0 subscribers on our business YouTube channel and 0 videos. So I'd like to get some subscribers just to bump ourselves up a little bit in the invite for getting a handle. So YouTube is switching over from custom URLs to the Instagram and Twitter style @ handles. And it's first come, first serve. And it appears they are doing it by invitation, probably, they haven't said what their algorithm is, probably by subscriber count down, right? So my new business channel is trying to get its handle, and with 0 subscribers, I'm the lowest on the totem pole. I'd like to bump it up. So I'm going to put a bit.ly address in the chat. And if you're comfortable, go hit subscribe. And I promise that if our thing isn't your thing, I will warn you before we ever put any real content up so you can unsubscribe later. But keep it up. We won't put anything up before November 4th, which is the date at which everybody can then go get their Black Friday style, go get their handles. So before then you get an invite.
Do you know how many subscribers you need to get the invite offhand?
0. You do not, it's available to everybody. Everybody will be offered a handle because they're getting rid of custom URLs. They'll convert, if you already have 100 subscribers and have a custom URL, they'll try to convert that to your handle.
Gotcha.
But they are abandoning the idea that you need 100 subscribers before you can get a custom URL. They're just doing it Twitter style. As soon as you sign up, you'll get a handle. That's in the future. But right now they're giving existing subscribers the chance to grab a handle. First come, first serve. And so, yeah.
So that's if you don't already have a custom URL though, right?
No, everybody's getting a handle. They're getting rid of, they're getting rid of the custom URLs. You'll, if you have a custom URL and they can convert that to the handle cleanly, then you'll still have a custom URL and just have the @ symbol in it.
Gotcha. Yeah. Because I know it was hard to get the custom URL for a while. I don't know about now, but
you needed 100 subscribers, you needed a certain number of views, you needed a little content, you needed an avatar and a banner.
Yeah.
What does that have to do with if you have a YouTube channel and you have some content on a YouTube? I'm not following at all what that means by you. What do you mean? I've never seen what you call a custom URL. If you want to do a YouTube thing, you go to YouTube / and there's every video, and I don't know how.
Well, no, Richard, my YouTube channel, my original one was youtube.com/ Rock for Life Coach. And then when I moved it to Tim Gillette, it was youtube.com/Tim Gillette. I have two channels that don't have that. They're like XY-42 port, because I don't have that 100 subscribers on those two channels.
Yeah, like mine is Internet Dominators.
Mhm.
So it's youtube.com/ some little symbol and then Internet Dominators.
Right. I'll show you that. I put a second link. They go to the same place. The second longer one in the chat is our actual channel URL, because I don't have a custom, because I don't have 100 subscribers. They no longer offer you the ability to do that. If I got 100 subscribers, I could not get a custom URL now. They've done away with that as they're converting over to handles.
Cool.
So what I'm saying is, by default, when you first create a channel with less than 100 subscribers, you get a crazy long, just like in the chat, long set of random numbers and letters. But once you have a certain criteria, they'll let you get a custom URL. And now instead, they're doing handles.
Good to know. Thank you.
That's good.
Is there some documentation on this somewhere, Roger?
Yes, everybody with a Gmail has, at least all of my Gmail accounts have now received the email announcing handles. And there's youtube.com/handles is the like FYI, here's what's coming thing. And they'll send you an invite by email, or it'll appear in your Content Studio notifications. When you get a button, there'll be a button that appears in your studio that says create handle.
Yeah, I think I got an email just to my regular email account about it too.
Right. But I don't have, for any of my YouTube channels, I don't have a create handle button as yet, because I'm not important enough.
I'll have to go in and see if I'm important enough. I don't know. I probably not. I don't know. Who knows? But I am becoming more important to some certain people out there, like Kartra, for one. Kartra is now in conversations about possibly licensing the ACT program to give it to all of their people, which that would be awesome. And the deal has gone through with Alignable, so I'm going to have one of the first paid groups on Alignable for the ACT program. So that's going to get basically promoted out to 7 million people. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to kind of follow Ryan Dice's footsteps in this. Because what he does is he does training videos on every little niche piece of anything that you could possibly do in the marketing world, like how to write a blog, how to do a WordPress post, how to do, how to set up your Gmail account, whatever. He's got a gazillion of these things. And all roads lead back to the digital whatever vault that's got access to all of his trainings, for $47 a month or whatever. So what he's realized is you have to get people with what they want. How many times have I said that?
Mm-hmm.
So if I break the ACT program into pieces, I'll have about 50 pieces. And every one of those pieces is a piece that somebody might want at any given time. I can do those and distribute those throughout existing free communities inside Alignable, where they make sense. Like somebody that's going to do SEO, say there's an SEO group with 50,000 people on Alignable. I can go in and I can do a couple of my traffic modules in there. And I can also, as I'm doing the training on the traffic modules, also tell them about the other pieces of ACT that might interest them. Get them to sign up and subscribe to my paid group. The paid group basically is just this membership, the ongoing support, mentorship, and access to the ACT program. So this group might be getting a little larger very soon. We're gonna start launching that. And I've also decided to completely redo and revamp the entire ACT training, because I did that probably 5 or 6 years ago. I wasn't near as good at it. And I think, you know, I've looked at the videos and I think they're a little dry. And I think some of them go a little too far into the weeds. Maybe it had to do with my comfort level then was not what it is now. I don't know. I've probably evolved a little bit in the last 5 years, you think? At
John?
least on training.
John, would you consider doing that in a white label format? That would make it a lot easier to sell it for some of us other people. I mean, we'll get you in the mix eventually, but if you know, if you're the only one sitting on camera, then you become the expert and we aren't so much.
Yeah. Well, you could redo it, and you know, it's basically the same content, but I'm gonna be redoing it. I noticed one thing too, because of the group that I did it for, they took me way too deep into the weeds on a lot of the stuff. So I'm going to simplify it. I'm going to simplify it. And then, you know, anybody that needs to go deeper into the weeds, maybe we'll do additional videos, but I'm going to simplify the core training. Because
Hey, John, I'm just curious as you say that, can you do a simple, easy version that you could partner maybe with me and we could do it the simple, easy ACT program?
sure.
Considering, you know, I'm just using my trademark there and it'll look like we're no.
I was actually thinking about possibly rebranding it too, from the ACT marketing protocol to the Dominator marketing protocol.
You should.
As ACT is the unique mechanism. ACT is almost the formula of the Dominator marketing protocol.
It's like, it's, yeah, well, it's almost like you have to do, you know, in order to be a Dominator, you've got to do the ACT program first.
Yeah. Yeah. Because it's the Dominator marketing protocol.
Yes.
So that's what I'm thinking. So when I redo it, I'm gonna rebrand it to Dominator. And I'm just going to do it. We're going to upload it all to Alignable. And then once it's all complete, and think about this, when I do the modules are going to be done in different groups across Alignable. Everyone will be invited to them because they're free groups. So not only will I be helping the groups grow by signing up to come in and get my training in each one of the groups, I will have the ability to get that group to promote the Dominator marketing protocol, my paid group inside Alignable. So I think it's going to work really well. It's a highly engineered mousetrap with an absolute shitload of mice running free that need to be corralled. I don't think I've ever had a pot this big of hungry mice.
It's funny.
So anyway, that's all my announcements. I had the working live, I had the Kartra, and the Alignable. So that's the exciting things going on in my world right now. All kind of coming to a head at one time, which I've been setting these dominoes up for years, and you just never know. So
you know, there comes value to that, John, for you to tell everybody, and that is, so many of us are trying to find something that'll jump and solve our problems today, not realizing that if you don't start setting something up, you know what I mean, that may not come to fruition for 2 years. You don't start setting it up now. When you do start setting it up, it's going to be 2 years before it actually comes to being. So start now.
yeah.
All right. And you know what I mean? You may shorten the path along the way. You may not. You don't know. But if you don't start, it's never going to happen.
Yeah. I mean, I set the Alignable seed was planted 5 years ago. The working live seed was planted probably 2 years ago. The Kartra seed was planted just about 2 months ago. So you never know. You know, it might be 5 years before that seed sprouts, or it might be the next day. But you know, the idea is planting seeds for opportunities that you actually want. Don't throw a bunch of weed seed out there. All you're going to do is get a crop of weeds. Don't be too hasty just to get something to grow.
Well, you know, John, you talk about that, something to grow, as I was, because I'm in the middle of still organizing my life in the new house, and it is frustrating. But I went through and found files from the original workshop the original, like, thrown together. I got to do a workshop tonight. I'm going to do it on blogging. That started it. I found the audio clips of it, and I put it in my portal for my mastermind members to hear first. But like, there's some like nuggets to that like, that was the original. That's where my original idea of, you know, well, Tim, what should you do? Talk about blogging. You know, this was before that.
Yeah, I have the same stuff because a lot of times I physically do paper notes on stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'll get out a yellow pad and a pencil, and I'll actually like blueprint out a training or a sales funnel.
My #1 app right here, John.
Yeah, exactly. And I have a drawer that stuff kind of gets thrown into, and every once in a while I'll pull that drawer out and just kind of walk down memory lane, and it's amazing how good some of it is. You know, really good stuff that just gets archived and never used again. Like when I went through Frank Kern's thing, he called it the magic model.
Mm-hmm. I remember that one.
I just went through magic model, and that was when I created the presentation that I gave at Glacier Kennedy. It was 100% magic model all the way, no deviation. And that thing worked phenomenally. You know, that was when I walked out the back door at Glacier Kennedy with $140,000 in sales. All repeat recurring revenue, not just a one-shot deal. That was an awesome day off of Kern's magic model, mapped out on a yellow piece of paper that I still have.
Wow.
Yeah, it's pretty freaking cool. And I've actually done a couple of seminars based on that piece of paper where we break the piece of paper out. I show them how I did it, what I went through, the actual magic model, and it makes for a great, 90-minute seminar. Content. It's all about content. If you have good content, I don't care if it's 10 years old. If it could be of value to somebody today and you've got it in an archive drawer, how easy would it be to pull it out and, do a walkthrough on it, to create an incredible piece of content that somebody might opt in for? You don't have to try and sell them something. It would just be an incredible piece of content. Here's something that you might do that might frustrate people. You might give them that really great piece of content and then leave them hanging and not even give them an offer. They're going to be like, what? How do I buy? What do I buy? What do you sell?
You know what? That's what I'll do with that thing now. I'll make that an opt-in.
Yeah. Do a reverse sale thing. That's kind of like what I used to do in SEO presentations. I never had an offer. I never went in with an offer. I never even had an offer in mind. I just created so much demand and desire that they asked me, how can we get started? What can we do? How do you, we want you to work for us. That was my reverse, whatever you want to call it, my reverse sales technique. So
I was going to say, John, the last couple of weeks I've missed this call since I've missed this freaking call. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Hey, John, just an FYI, if we have a moment.
Sure.
So you're hearing this thing. So I thought I was so smart. In order that I could, like, I'm watching you, John, but you're seeing me look pretty much, I think, at the camera, because I have a system that drops my Logitech camera down about 6-7 inches from the top of the monitor into the middle of the screen. Very cool. Now I can look at the screen and I'm appearing to look in the camera, right? It's a piece of bent plexiglass over the top of the monitor. My cat, however, has discovered that I pay a lot of attention to this monitor. So when I'm on long Zoom calls, she goes up and she whacks it with her paw. Whack, 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 until I grab her. And she won't stop. If I throw her down, she'll curl around the chair and jump up on the desk and right up and smack the monitor, smack the camera. She just smacks that thing until I finally relent and give her a little bit of petting, and then she'll go away happy.
That's awesome.
So
well, that brings up an interesting thing, because I just realized when you said that oftentimes I'm not looking at the camera. So that might give you the intent. Like right now, I'm looking at the camera. Fully appears to you as I'm right at you. But when I'm talking to you guys here, like right now, Roger, I'm looking at you on my screen. I've got like the Hollywood squares up here, and
right, and I can tell you're looking down at your screen.
Yeah, and I'm looking right into your eyes here, but it doesn't give you that same effect.
And I'm looking right into yours right now, and wow, are they pretty? No, I'm kidding.
You two get a room.
No.
Well, and another thing for you, Roger, I wanted to tell you, you really missed out on the mastermind thing last week.
Oh, I know. I was genuinely sick as a dog.
I heard, but usually, you and Michelle are kind of the racy ones in the room. And Michelle this time was the mild one in the room.
I mean, totally mild compared to the others.
Oh, yeah, it was just awesome.
I finally skipped one, and this is all the wild stuff happening.
On a scale of 1 to 10, Roger, you were probably dropped down to about a 4, a docile 4.
Oh, that's almost unacceptable.
I'm telling you, it was crazy.
And I don't know did you hear about their branding?
No.
Okay, so here's the business card. I don't know if you can see it, but this girl does a podcast, and it was called The Good, the Bad, and the
Horrible.
As in WHORE-able, horrible.
Oh,
And I kept the card. I was shocked that I kept it, but you can't help but keep the card.
Right, and Craig freaked out over the name that I just provided, the Share Kitty name. Craig was like, no, I won't even say that on camera.
That was nothing. That is nothing compared. When Ken Walls told the story of walking in, and I guess she was on the radio in her first show. Remember that, John?
Yeah.
Her first show, the subject was swallowing.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
wow.
Her podcast show, the first show on her podcast was all about that topic.
Pretty crazy stuff. But it was funny because a common theme on everybody got to introduce themselves and say a little bit. And the common theme was shifting. They were shifting. And, I mean, I shift all the time. I don't even think about it. I just do whatever's the right.
do, but I don't advertise it.
Yeah. So
some of you will get that later.
So anyway, they left my intro for last. And I got up there and I'm like, with all of the sex talk, I don't even know what I do anymore. I'm thinking I might be shifting. That was pretty funny. But Teresa, she put out a thing where she wanted to rebrand a service, and I don't even remember what I was throwing out, but I was throwing out some winners for her.
Oh, you were brilliant. Okay, I'll quickly tell you guys, because this was so cool. And we all know John's brilliant, but he just out of thin air comes up with these things. I am offering a tax problem prevention and resolution marketing track, and under cherrytax.com. And we were going round and round about what I might be able to put into a membership box. And then John said, your business card ought to be a get out of jail free card. Duh.
Yes.
And I say, keep this card in case you need it. You know,
Yes.
you're going to be needing it. Yeah,
That is really good.
that's what I thought too.
I thought it was good too, but then I threw out another one to throw into her box. What was the other one?
Let's see, we had the calendar, we had, oh, yes. You could give, well, first of all, it was give the person a chisel, just in case you don't use the card, to break out of jail. Collaborate with bail bondsmen, or offer, you know, part of it, you can also have a bail bondsman number on it. Somebody suggested a calendar with racy IRS agents in the photographs. And then John said, send people a little bottle of bourbon for the, until you get, you know, when you're going through all the trauma, and then a little bottle of champagne when your case has been resolved.
I'll test that for you.
Yeah,
Yo,
right.
send it on over. Yeah.
yeah. The bourbon is for when you get the audit letter, and the champagne is for when she fixes the problem for you.
Hey, that sounds like an episode of my podcast of like the way you drink, you know.
Hey, there's an idea.
But
Oh my God. I'm visualizing like the bottom of a business card having a serrated edge, and then the graphic being a file or a saw,
yeah.
you know, so you have your info up the top and then the saw on the bottom in case you don't call, you know, for sawing the bars.
Oh, that's an idea. Sure, sure.
Or you
Or
could
in my
have-
membership box, you know, I could actually include a chisel or a little saw with my logo and, you know, contact information, and tell people to give it to their friends that might need it.
You know what
Yes.
might be more useful than the chisel and get the same idea across is like a toothpick holder that shoots the toothpick out the end. So it's like a pick,
Oh,
you know, the pick, like the pick and the
pick
chisel.
the lock.
Yeah.
Yeah, lock picks.
Yeah.
The
That would,
The
kids,
shiv, you might
no.
need it.
A
Yeah,
shiv.
you know,
Oh,
what's her name
thanks.
to do get custom products and get nail files with you?
yeah. Yeah. Nail.
Oh, of course. Now a file.
Yeah.
I just have to comment though, the idea of twisting the card from the banal, which is everybody says, you know, I'm great, I can help you out of problems, right? To here's all the stuff you'll need if you don't call me. I'm trying to be helpful here, right? The bourbon, the saw, the toothpick. I love
Yeah.
that.
And all those items would be great for trade shows or Chamber of Commerce meetings or stuff like that.
Tchotchkes, yeah.
Or even, how about a book that has the little liquor in it, you know, like broken out, or I don't know. We could go on, but the theme is there. Thank you, everybody.
Yeah. But here's the learning lesson from this, right? Think big idea. That's the intellectually interesting part of her offer. You know, you've got the promise. So whatever her promise is, and then you've got the thing that's going to deliver the result, but it's brought through in a very unique and compelling way.
It's original, it's kind of funny, but it's funny in a way that doesn't diminish your image. In fact, it's almost boastful, like use me or use
Or
the
else.
file to
Or
get
else.
out of jail, right? And yet it isn't braggart. It's really a good balance. It's just the originality and fun of it seems great.
Yeah, it wraps a lot of things that we talk about together. You know, the intellectually interesting idea, the contrast, this or that. You know, it's a lot of really good synergy to build a marketing campaign around. So you got a lot of pieces now. You need to put this puzzle together.
Put it together, yeah. And I've got an accountability group. Uh-oh.
There you go.
All right, to be continued. Thanks, everybody.
Okay, John, can I give you a funny then, since we brought up jail? I got to give you this funny I read this morning on Facebook.
Sure.
As you all know, Facebook is rebranding themselves to Meta, right?
Yep.
So the new thing is you can no longer say you're in Facebook jail because they paused you for 30 days. It's not Facebook jail. You are now in menopause.
That's awesome. Love it. Oh,
Could you spell?
Wow.
that's good. That's a good one. All right. Well, I think with that, I don't think we're going to top that one. So let's let's wrap it up for this week. For those of you that are in the crypto world, I will see you guys in about an hour and a half. And till next week, have a great week and start putting this stuff to work, guys. Start sharpening these swords. It's definitely worthwhile. Have a great week. We will see you soon.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.